Welcome back to another episode of the AIM Show. Today's episode is going to be just me, you, having a heart to heart conversation. And it's for a person who's in the middle of a seasonal shift. Maybe it's something that ended recently, or maybe it's something that's ending slowly that you just do not want to admit yet. Maybe you're not sure what's next. And I've been sitting here a lot with personally, spiritually, and professionally. And I felt God say to me that I need to talk to the people who are going through that weight of a transition as I am going through one myself. So this episode is for the one who still shows up even when it's foggy. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Now, I want to talk about the gift of having an ending first. In Ecclesiastes 3:1, it says, "To everything there is a reason, a time to be born and a time to die." Now, what does this mean? Everything and endings are painful, but I've come to realize that they're not always punishment. Sometimes it's mercy, they're alignment. Sometimes they're a spiritual upgrade dis- disguised as a heartbreak or a fallen opportunity. If it ended, it either expired or it was exposed. Either way, you have to thank God for it. Every single time I think of an ending that was painful, I always think of Job and how he had everything taken away from him. Yet, in the midst of that, he always stayed faithful to him. It could feel like death. It could feel like looking back and being into the past. But you have to understand that endings are an opportunity to start from a new chapter. And I think oftentimes we overcomplicate this. The problem is when we hold on to something that God is trying to close, we start to worship our last season more than the one and trusting Him for the next season. And I think I've fallen victim to this, and I think oftentimes we all do. We start to worship or we start to worry or think about the past so much that we're not even trusting God for the next season in our life. Job made this sense, but maybe that job that made sense on paper, maybe that job that you had that made sense on paper, but left your soul dry was because God like asked you to close that chapter. Maybe that friendship that drained you was trying to teach you that all friendships or not all friendships are meant for you. Or maybe it's that routine that numbed your feeling of who you are and the happiness you feel on a day-to-day basis. Some things that I think of when I think of having closing chapters and actionable steps, I guess you could say, is taking 30 minutes or an hour just to ask yourself, what am I clinging on to that God has already closed? Now, that's a loaded question, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of patience to get the answer to that question. But usually, it comes back, and it's usually the thing that you know you should let go of, but it's very hard to let go of. Maybe it's a bad habit that you don't want to have. Or maybe it's about a relationship that you feel as though is draining you so much. What I find helpful is to close a chapter. Let's say it's a happy chapter, right? Maybe write a thank you letter. Maybe you don't have to send it to the person that you're closing, or maybe you are graduating, or maybe you are doing something. Find something that you can have closure with. I find that either writing a thank you note, a goodbye letter, that closes the chapter. It makes the new chapter so much greater because you have closed it. You have almost as if you have let go of something that you're holding on to because you have full closure on that thing that you're doing. And I think you could either burn it if you want to have closure on a negative thing. You could pray. There's many things that I think that you can do that endings have. The beauty of an ending. Having closure, having an understanding that the end of one chapter is not the end of your story. we oftentimes overlook how much we can do in 1 year, but in 10 years, we underestimate what we can do. And we have to remember, the longer we extend the horizon of what we do and understand that we'll always have seasons in our life, you can never be behind. Everything is going to come and go. Everything is temporary. And you have to understand that being able to have closure on the things and look at the future with a positive light and not dwell in the past is very important. Now, I kind of want to talk about the uncertainty between two chapters, because I think a lot of people feel very uncertain. Like, you have one chapter that was closed and you want to get to the next one, but that in between time where you're flipping the page sometimes is very, very foggy. And I think that I just want to touch on that, and I just want to kind of talk to you about it. In Deuteronomy 8:2, he says, "He led you through the vast wilderness to humble and test you." Between the beginning and end, or the ending and the new thing, there's this strange place, I guess you could say, called uncertainty. It's almost like the wilderness. It's the middle ground. The quote unquote, I trust God, but I'm very nervous. In that place, it's super easy to fall back into our old habits, just to feel something very familiar. But what if the silence is sacred? What if that stillness is God strengthening your spirit? I think that's where the faith really gets forged. Some real topics that I want to talk about is uncertainty is not failure. It's a formation. There's always going to be uncertainty, and you can always have an understanding that you're not going to know what tomorrow brings. But to worry about what tomorrow brings is to put more stress on oneself than is necessary. Today brings problems, tomorrow will bring problems, and understanding that if you can just have peace in the problems that you have today, it gives you a lot more reassurance. It gives you a lot more clarity in the fog. You don't have to have clarity right now. You just need to have consistency. And I think oftentimes we go off of what we feel. We feel motivated, so we'll do this. I want to go to the gym, so I'll go to the gym. I want to do this business model, so I'll do this business model. But what happens when we do not want to do the thing that we know we should be doing? That's where discipline, that's where consistency comes in, right? And oftentimes when we're in that in between chapters, we don't have the clarity because we don't know, right? It's a new thing. And being able to understand, if you just stay consistent in the things that you know are going to get you to where you want to go, that's the important thing that you cannot lose. I want to give you an example that I think could kind of relate to this. And it's, if I want to, for example, maybe I do not feel or have clarity on what my physique will look like in 7 months from now or 6 months from now, right? I just don't know. I have a goal or I have a target, but I don't know what it is. And if I just act on what I feel like, let's say I feel like I want to go to the gym today, or I feel like I want to go to the gym tomorrow, but I don't want to go today. That understanding that if you just stay consistent, it doesn't have to be every single day. I like to say if you can stay consistent in something that, or find what works for you. Consistency is all about finding what works for you and staying consistent to that. A lot of people say you have to go to the gym every single day to stay consistent. And for some people, that's true. Maybe you have to, because if you miss one day, you feel like you lost your streak or you just aren't consistent. But my recommendation to you is, if you never go to the gym, go at least 3 times a week. 3 times a week, 30 to 40 minutes a day. You can get a good workout in, get your heart pumping a little bit. It's very good for your body. Now, to bring this back to what I'm trying to say is, you do not need to have the clarity of what you're going to get to. You just need to have consistency. And through that consistency, you'll gain the clarity to know what that thing is going to look like. If you want a good body or a healthy physique, you know what your mind knows what you want, but you might not have clarity on the road to get there. But if you have the consistency, slowly but surely you understand, oh, okay, this is how it looks like. You start to understand your nuances in your body. Your body is an incredible thing, but it also has intricacies that not everybody has. And you have to understand what's you and what makes you feel the best. And there's no one size fits all magical potion that fixes you. So, especially in the health department, I think it's very, very important to stay consistent on the things, iterate, change. But I think even more importantly, spiritual and transitional periods are really important too, even if you don't have clarity. Understand if you stay consistent in improving yourself, consistent on the small things that you know will get you to the next level in life. That's what matters the most. I think also we need to stop asking ourselves, what should I do? And start asking ourselves, who am I becoming? Because when I ask, what should I do? It's a question of like, I oftentimes ask myself, what should I be doing right now? Like when I don't have anything to do, I should be like, what should I do? But if I switch that and say, who am I becoming by doing nothing right now? It becomes a little bit more urgent to do the things that I need to do. Now, rest is important. And I'm not saying that you can't rest or you can't chill. But I'm also saying that if you just chill, then you're never going to have the thing that you want to get, right? So what should I do to who am I becoming? If I say, what should I do? Like if I'm asking myself, okay, let's say I'm sitting and I am in a dilemma of what I need to do for this day. First of all, I would ask you, why did you not write a plan of what you want to do? Because if you don't have an action plan of a general idea of what you want to do, then you're pretty lost. But secondly, if that's not the case, what should I do to get to the place I want to get to? Instead of that, say, who am I becoming by not doing the things that I know I should be doing? Or who am I becoming by doing the things that I know I should be doing? If I ask, who am I becoming? You're asking if the action that you're doing right now is going to get you to the place you want to get to, rather than asking the things that I should be doing, because it almost feels like confusing, almost like, what should I do? There's so many things that you can do. But if you ask, who am I becoming and who do I want to become, and then rework that backwards, it's a lot easier to understand what you want to become and work towards it. But it also keeps you accountable for asking yourself who you're becoming. So what are some recommendations for what to do during this uncertainty period, I guess? What I would say is no phone in the morning. I've been doing this for, I don't know how long, a couple weeks, maybe 3-4 weeks. And the amount of peace it brings is absolutely insane. Now, I know I talked about this in another episode, I believe, probably one or two, one of my older solo podcasts. But when you read the word in the morning with no external phone notifications, you will have such an immense feeling of peace, such an immense feeling of gratitude, such an immense feeling of connection. You're very, very present in what you're doing. I like to think of it as if I were to open my phone, you're opening a portal to the world. And if you woke up in the morning and you looked at your phone first thing, you're entering, or you're allowing people to come into your bedroom. And I think I've said this in another podcast. I probably have. And honestly, it's just such a good interpretation or image of what actually is. If you open your phone, you're letting hundreds of people into your bedroom looking at you in that state. So all that to say, it's super important to start your morning without your phone. Go outside for a walk without your phone. Do the small things that you could do without a phone. I think it's very important to just be present in that thing. I think another one that you could do, or something that I've been actually trying like the past 4 or 5 days, is instead of what if, say God is. So like literally say God is with me. God is good. God is good. God is for me. Not what if XYZ, but God is here. God is going to help me. God is for me. God is good. And then I think finally in this section that I guess connects strongly to having clarity in this fog is track your obedience, not your outcome. If you track your obedience of following God rather than focusing just on the outcome, you'll get a lot further. Last week I had Jack on the show, and he talked about enjoying the journey rather than the destination, and how we always get trapped in that. I think it's super powerful because if you're always trapped on the destination of where you want to get to, it's very, very hard to enjoy the process because it's not always going to be fun. It's not always going to be easy, especially in this transition period of fog. It's not always going to be easy, but if you can be obedient and not always be fixated on what the outcome is, I think you'll get a lot further. One verse that really connects to me in this is Psalm 119, 105, which is, "Your word is a lamp to my feet, not a spotlight, one step at a time." I did like a 5-page Bible study on that verse, as I think it was super powerful because it really goes to show like He's leading us and He's always with us. Yeah. I guess I kind of want to go to the next section, which is about understanding that you're still called during the chaos, and understanding that it's okay to be in chaos if you're called. I don't know if I worded that correctly, but let's go with it. The pressure you're under does not mean you're not called. It means you're closer than you think. In fact, storms often confirm that you're moving towards something very significant. I think that there are seasons in life where we all think God has gone silent on us, when in reality, it's in those seasons that have really taught me that it was me that was leading and going astray. Maybe it was just me and my lack of connecting with God in the Bible. And I think that something that really helped during that time is stop waiting for the certainty and move with what you know. Sometimes in life, you're not going to know everything, and oftentimes you won't. The business that you want to run, you're never going to know all the answers to. The relationship that you want to have, you're never going to know the answers to all the questions that you have. But if you just start moving with what you know, you'll get to the destination or to what you want to get to so much quicker. And it's a lot more peaceful because you're not worrying about every little detail in life. I think also if you revisit your original yes, it also helps a lot. And now what do I mean by this? That was kind of confusing to, it was kind of an abrupt change. But what I'm trying to say is, when you first started this journey, why did you say yes? What and why did you say yes to that vision in the first place? Maybe it was that business. Why did you say yes to that? What was the why? Why did you say it? Once you find why you did something, boy, does it give you so much more clarity and so much more understanding. It's just incredible to see. Oftentimes, I get unmotivated, or if I get unmotivated, I like coming back to, Alan, why am I doing this? Find something, reflect on it. Everyone is going to be different. Maybe it's because you want to spread the gospel, or maybe it's because you want to build a life for your future family. Whatever that why is, come back to it in those moments of transition, the moments of closing chapters, new beginnings. Because in those moments, understanding why you're doing something, even if it's painful, can help so much in understanding what you want to do. I think also, or finally, what you can do and understand when you're in chaos is fast or remove one comfort per week. Now, what does this mean? And when you hear the word fast or you hear the word remove something from your life, it often comes with, oh, I don't want to do that, or it's not for me, because it's a lot, right? But I found that if I can subtract things, it could even be the smallest thing. It helps you get closer in simplifying things and getting closer to listening to God to speak clearly. For example, let's say that every single night you eat a dessert right before bed, and you know it's not that good for you. Now, I'm speaking to myself because I do this. You know it's not really good for you, but you do it anyways. Now, what happens if you just don't do it for 1 week and see the impact you have? Maybe you gain more clarity, maybe you don't. But the idea is to find what pulls you away from God and what gets you closer to Him. And if you can fast or remove certain things for a week and just see if it helps, that's just so powerful. Like, we have the ability to do so much if we just put our minds to it. And I always come back to thinking that it's like, if I truly want to get closer to God, I have to find what keeps me away from Him. And sometimes it's ourselves, and sometimes it's our habits, and sometimes it's the people we surround ourselves with. So maybe fasting from different things is also a great way to get closer to God. And when we say fasting, it also comes with a connotation of food. But it doesn't have to be food. It can be people. It can be digital devices. That's a huge one now. Anything that gets you closer to God is the idea of a fast, in my opinion. I think one verse that really connects to this, in my opinion, is Psalm 23:4. And it's, even though I walk through the valley, I fear no evil, for you are with me. And that just gives me so much reassurance, knowing that God is with you wherever you go, even in chaos, even in the hardest times in your life. He's with you. He is with you. And understand that if you put your trust on Him and lean on His understanding, so much will happen, and so many blessings will happen. Now, I think I also want to kind of touch on this whole theme, which is new seasons and closing chapters, etc. So, I guess this section you can call having new seasons and having a new standard for yourself. I think new seasons are like an amazing place to have a new beginning, because you're closing one chapter and you're starting a new one. So why not try to make that best starting point? Like, I always feel like super motivated. Like, you have, like the New Year's resolution, you have that huge spike, right? Like, oh, I'm going to do this and that. And I know New Year's resolutions, like 60% or 90% fail, whatever. But the same idea, if you put it in, it's just an amazing opportunity to completely and radically change your life for the better. And I think that having that mindset is something that has completely changed my life. Every single time a season ends, I can think, okay, that chapter was ended. I can start a new one with new standards and new things, lessons that I've learned, and I can use that to help this chapter or season in my life become so much better. So when God brings you into a new chapter, it's definitely going to require a new level in you, and you can do it. It's going to have new boundaries. It's going to have new rhythms daily. It's going to have way more accountability. It's going to have different surrenders. And you have to understand that a lot of things and a lot of people don't like change. A lot of people don't. And that's the sad part, is a lot of people don't change. A lot of people stay the same, even though they know they should change. And if you're starting a new chapter, you have the opportunity to change. And now change is this scary thing that a lot of people are scared of. But if you trust God, why would you be scared of a new season? That's something that I've been asking myself over and over again. And it's very true. I guess let's make this kind of more plain and easy to understand. Don't bring last season's excuses or troubles into this next season's opportunities and this next season's opportunities. If you're praying for something new, right? If you're praying for something new, prepare that it's already on the calendar for you in the future. Understand that if you bring back last season's excuses and the things that you said that you were not going to do, or the things that, oh, I don't want to do it because of this or that or the other thing, and you bring it into this season's not going to be that much different. But if you want a new season and you want to have those new standards to live closer to God or to do whatever you want to get to, but improving yourself, whatever that might be, you cannot bring the last season's excuses into this season's opportunity. I need to say that too. You cannot bring last season's excuses in this next season's opportunity. God, I guess the question that I'll ask you is, are you ready for what he's asking next? Or are you ready for what you're asking God for? Are you ready? I think some things that help me set new standards and kind of live in more of accordance or into a better way to get better, improve, is set non-negotiable prayer time. That's the first thing I would say. Now, why would I do that? And why would I recommend that? Well, if you want to have a relationship with someone and you don't talk to them, how strong do you think that relationship will be? I mean, you can probably get a relative understanding with one or two conversations, but if you really want to get to know someone, do you think one or two conversations will cut it? Do you think that putting off that, if you really wanted to understand someone, do you think you would put off that conversation? Or would you try with all your might to get as much time with that person and understand them as much as you can? That's why I think you should set non-negotiable prayer time. Connect with him. If I really want to get close to someone, I want to spend as much time as I can trying to get to know them, right? And that's the same with prayer. If I want to get to know as much as I can God, then why would I spend only 30 minutes a day with him? Or why would I only spend 5 minutes a day praying to him? I think it just comes to simply understanding if you want a relationship with him, you have to spend the time with him. I think secondly, you have to clean up your digital life. You have to clean up your digital life. Now, this is huge in my generation because that is our life. Our life is digital. And what do I mean by cleaning up the digital life is we have to unfollow what feeds our fear, distraction, whatever it might be. We have to unfollow that. So let's say that you follow this person who does something that creates fear in the world. Maybe it's a news station, or maybe it's something that puts so much stress on you or fear and anxiety or something. Unfollow. Clear up the digital life. The time wasted on fearing what's going to happen takes away from the peace of mind that could have been had if you just let go and understand that most of the things in the world are not going to exponentially change your life. Yes, there are tragedies that happen in the world all over the place. Yes, there's going to be horrific things that happen in the world. But constantly filling your mind with those things is not going to make you feel better. Rather, it's going to make you feel worse and maybe even regress your own life when that is maybe not deemed necessary. Another thing, distraction. Set times where you don't use your phone. Set times where you don't use your laptop. The easiest 2 times. When you wake up, when you sleep. Try 10, then 30, then 10, then 20, then 30, then 40, then 50, then an hour of before you go to sleep, 10 minutes before, then move it to 20. Before, after you wake up, 10 minutes, then 20. Slowly and gradually get used to not using the thing right in the morning. Now, I know what you're going to say. I have work. I know what you're going to say. Well, I need to do this. Yes, I understand that. You can use something called a laptop, and you can use something called an iPad. You don't have to have the little rectangle device. And I know countless of people who have successfully used flip phones and live very successful lives without having to be cluttered in the morning. Now, even for me, as someone who creates content, as someone who creates podcasts, it doesn't matter and it doesn't affect me to not be, I can also do the same thing. Me being a person who creates content doesn't mean I need to be on my phone the first thing in the morning. Now, I know there's going to be some people who do. And if that's you, try to find ways that makes you less distracted on your phone and only using the tool features of it rather than distraction features of it. Now, what could this look like? First of all, turn your phone to black and white in the daytime and red at night. First of all, black and white reduces your screen time use by like 30%. Amazing. Second of all, red light is good for you at night. It makes you sleep better, which basically means you'll have better productivity during the day the next day. Those 2 things, for me, have completely changed how I use my phone. Second or third, create like time limits on each app. For me, that does not work. For me, I have to physically delete the app because I have the urge to get onto it. I know, that's bad. I've been trying to figure out how to rework that. But find what works for you. If putting an app blocker works on it, then do that. Find if maybe you don't even need to have a blocker. Like currently, I don't even have a blocker on it, and I've reduced my screen time from like 4 hours to like 2 hours. Find something that works for you and stick to it. That's all that really matters. Everyone will try to sell you on a one size fits all, but in reality, everyone is different. And yes, there's going to be similarities in what works for me and what works for someone else. But don't feel like you need to have the pressure into conforming into one thing, because I think that when someone says that, it's either to create fear. A lot of people sell fear. If you don't do this by this day, it's an amazing sales tactic, but I don't like when people do that because it sells the ideology that fear is a good thing. And I'm going to scare you into buying the thing that I want to get to, or you want to get, or maybe you don't even want to get it, but I scared you into getting it. I don't really like that. Beside the point, I'm getting super off track. Finally, having new standards and new seasons should lead to maybe finding one mentor to pour out what you're receiving. Find one person that you can go to talk to learn from, to absorb, but also to ask and pour out. If every single person, okay, I want to give this a visual example. If you're a basketball player, or if you're whatever you might want to do and you want to get excellent at it, you're always going to find someone who's better than you and try to learn. If you want to, let's say, if you want to have a good physique, then you have to find someone. Because you don't have to, but you're probably going to find someone that is going to guide you to it. And why do I think that having someone who's above you or mentorship important? They guide you. If you look at any of the great, like history greats, I think that's what you say, historical figures, a lot of them and almost all of them had mentors. I don't know the names of them. I should have wrote them down. But I know that all of them, Leonardo da Vinci had a mentor, I'm sure. Plato probably had a mentor. All these people had mentors. Why? To learn, to absorb, to ask questions. Because we need people who are ahead of us to tell us what we should do and their advice on what you want to get to. So my recommendation is find someone at a person or a level of 2 to 3 years ahead of you. A lot of times people are like, okay, where can I find a mentor? Find someone who's 2 to 3 years ahead of where you want to be currently. So let's say that you're at a place here and the other mentor is like 2 years ahead of you. If you get someone who's extremely successful, they're not going to be in touch to what you're dealing with. So it's hard to ask for advice or get the advice that they're saying because it's so high level compared to what you understand. Try to find someone who's 1 to 3 years ahead of where you are. Lean on their understanding, lean on their wisdom, because you can learn so much from them. So people are going to say, okay, where can I get this? One is find, if you still have grandparents around, that is one of the best places to start. Now, maybe they're in a completely different thing that you want to do. But I'll promise you one thing, you'll gain more wisdom from your grandparents than you will from some 20-year-old person or me online. And I think that's beautiful. So if you still have the blessing of having grandparents, go ask them for their advice. Say, hey, this is what I'm doing, whatever. They might not understand it. If you're doing some technology thing, maybe it's best not to ask them. But if you're asking them about life, if you're asking them about wisdom on how to do things, I promise you, they'll give you so much wisdom. As an example, I have a grandfather who takes care of roses, and I've learned so much from him in just taking care of outside roses. Now you might think, okay, well, that's just taking care of roses. But I've learned the beauty of consistency, showing up, doing things you don't want to do in order to achieve something. The beauty of something if you put hard work into it. I've learned countless of lessons from one singular thing. And if you look at it from different angles, I can bet you I'll find so much more wisdom from that one thing. So I guess I just kind of want to end there. I know it's kind of like a scrappy episode, but I want to leave you with this. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't need to force the next thing. You just need to stay faithful. A man or a person who's rooted when nothing makes sense. A person who shows up even when it's hard. A person who doesn't need applause, clarity to be obedient. That person is going to be completely unstoppable because he has become so firm in his foundation that he'll become unshakable. Your next chapter is not going to wait for your permission or your green light. It's waiting for your yes. It's waiting for your action. And your yes today is going to be enough. So, yeah, I love each and every one of you. You guys have shown so much support to this podcast, and I appreciate you more than you can know. And without further ado, I'll see you guys next week with another amazing episode. See ya.